Nani was a very beautiful woman whose fame was known in many villages. The tale of her mysterious condition was spread far and wide. Nani's body was marked with strange drawings of ancient symbols that no one could decipher. Since the day she was born, she had always had these markings on her body. Her parents had visited every herbalist and priest for a solution, but nobody knew what the markings on her body meant. To make matters worse, her body began to leak water on the full moon when she turned 13. Since the day water began to leak through her pores, it never stopped. When she walked past people in the village, they would run from her in a bid to escape her as they considered her to be cursed. Nani's parents were ashamed of her. The village people were afraid of her. Children threw stones at her on the street, and every time there was trouble in the village, the people always attributed it to Nani's presence. Severally, they advocated for her to be sent away, and people avoided her, fearing that her touch would bring misfortune. When her elder brother fell sick and passed away, the people said it was because of Nani's markings and curse, and her parents threw her out of the house for it. Nani lived in the streets and begged for food from kind strangers in the market. Many people refused to help her, and she sometimes had to eat scraps thrown away at the end of the market day. Soon, a terrible drought struck the village. Rain ceased to fall. The crops withered, and the river ran dry. The villagers blamed Nani as usual and threw her out of the village, forcing her to live in the bush. Nani's expulsion, however, did not stop the crisis. The drought continued. Soon, desperation filled the air. Many villagers fled the village in search of better land, while the remaining villagers turned to their elders for guidance. The elders came together to find a solution. They agreed that they needed to consult the elderly wise woman known as Mama Abang, who lived in the ancient village across the river. It was a faraway wealthy village where people sold oil, and the elders were worshippers of nature and knew the times and seasons like the back of their hands. Two wise elders set out on the journey. But when they made a stop in the middle of the forest to rest, Nani came closer to listen to their tales. Hearing that the men were seeking for this old mama who knew all things, Nani followed silently behind them, hoping to find the solutions to her own problems. She followed the men quietly, careful not to make the men aware of her presence. She ate wild fruits and hid in the shadows until they arrived at the ancient town. They met the wise elderly mama sitting in front of her hut, enjoying the evening breeze. But before they reached her, she sensed their presence and knew their intentions. When the two elders got to her, she demanded the whereabouts of the third person, but they explained that they were the only ones who came to see her from their village. The elderly woman insisted that there was a third person, a young girl. At this, Nani was forced to come out of hiding and show herself to Mama Abang. Mama Abang told the elders that they should not have bothered to take the long trip as they already had the solution to their problems. The elders were surprised because they did not understand what Mama Abang was talking about. Mama Abang called Nani closer and told her that she, Nani, was the solution to her village's problems. The drawings on her body were, in fact, not a curse, but a blessing, as they were markings of the spirits that signified she was a blessing to her people. The water that seemed to continually pour from her body was a sign of the continuous blessings of the gods on their land. In fact, it was the people's harsh treatment of Nani that had brought so much suffering upon the land. The elders were shocked to learn of this and desired to know the solution to this issue. Mama Abang made it known that the only solution would be to appease Nani, who in turn would have to willingly commit herself to the earth to restore the flow of goodwill to the land. The elders returned with Nani and told the villagers of Mama Abang's advice. The villagers were so ashamed of the way that they had treated Nani and could not ask her to do what Mama Abang had advised because they had been wicked to her. The villagers tried to redeem themselves by presenting Nani with gifts, but Nani, on her part, was unwilling to forgive the villagers for all the times when they had been wicked to her. And even if she did forgive them, she refused to give her life to save them. Days passed, weeks flew by, and more people died of starvation and thirst as the water in the river dried up so much that the earth began to crack. But while all the water was drying up, Nani was constantly leaking water, so much so that when she stood on a spot for a little while, it would have become a big puddle by the time she moved. People started to beg Nani to stand in their bowls and walk around their farmlands, but it still did not help to restore the land, and Nani was becoming fed up with all the attention she was getting. One day, she made up her mind that she would leave the village and run off to a faraway land where she could live in peace. But as she walked past the side of the now dried river, she saw the body of a young boy sitting in the middle of the riverbed thirsty. The thirsty boy reached out a weak hand and begged Noni to give him some water, and Noni realized just then that if she left the village, she would doom both the innocent and guilty to the same fate, as she was the last source of water in the village. So there and then, Noni made up her mind to stay and help the land. If this was the reason why she was sent to the land, then she would do her best to help. As soon as Noni stepped onto the dry riverbed and the water from her body dropped on the dried riverbed, water sprang out of the dry ground and started to fill up the river. As the water began to fill up the river, however, Noni tried to walk out of the river but found herself stuck. Soon, her body began to harden. It seemed as if she was rooted to the ground. As the minutes passed by, she began to turn into a rock until she became a mighty rock from which water flowed. The rock thus became the source of the river, signaling the origin of the river that flowed and watered the land. Because of Noni's sacrifice, the land flourished once again as the waters returned. But a huge rock stood in the middle of the river, in the place where Noni had turned into a rock. This rock till this day reminds the people of the village that difference is only a gift in disguise, and true blessings often come from unexpected places. Noni's sacrifice taught the village a profound lesson. They learned to cherish those who are different, for they might be the bearers of untold blessings. And so, the legend of Noni, the woman who leaked water, lived on, inspiring generations to come. So, here's the lesson in this story: true blessings often come from unexpected places, and it is important to cherish and accept those who are different, for they might hold the key to our salvation. I hope you learnt something from this story. Kindly drop a comment in the comment section and subscribe for more stories. Thanks for watching.